I'm going to break down a call I had with an all-knowing lawyer who thought he could out-negotiate me and show you the exact word track that made him buy when we were more expensive. My name is George Elossais. I'm a high-producing team member that has trained over 1,000 insurance agents and their team members to sell more policies in any rate environment. Maybe you've worked with this type of prospect before. If you haven't, I guarantee you will one day. I'm talking about the all-knowing lawyer, the guy who's done all of his own research, thinks he knows more about insurance than you do, and is ready to challenge every single thing you say. Most salespeople get completely steamrolled by these prospects. They hear the resistance and they immediately fold like a chair. They get intimidated and then skip the steps of their process and then let the prospect run the show. They end up just emailing a quote and hoping for the best. And let me tell you something, hopes for church. That's a Chadism. Today I'm going to break down the exact call and show how I turned this self-sufficient, all-knowing lawyer into a multi-line household on the very first call, even when we were more expensive. Here's the promise. In this video, you're going to learn a framework for handling the most difficult, skeptical, and intelligent prospects. These are the people who want to be in control, and I'm going to show you how to give them that control while still leading them to the right decision. This isn't just theory, it's a real-world breakdown of a call I had in our agency. Here's the agenda. First, we're going to define the self-sufficient customer type and bust a major belief that causes most insurance agents and team members to fail with them. Then I'll give you the exact word tracks I used to handle his objections during fact-finding when he tried to take over my sales process. And finally, we'll talk through the entire negotiation step by step so you can see how to use their own logic to close the deal, even when they tell you they have cheaper quotes elsewhere. Let's get into it. Before you can win with these prospects, you have to break a fundamental belief. The belief that these tough, knowledgeable customers are bad leads. They're not. In fact, they're some of the best leads you'll ever get. Why? Because these are busy people, and busy people are buyers. They don't have time to mess around. They're qualified, they're conscious of their time, and they want to be done. They're not too busy to work with you. They just want to work with you their way. The lawyer in this example was a classic self-sufficient prospect. So who is this prospect? First, self-sufficient prospects want to make their decision either way on their own. They get a sense of achievement from doing the research and coming down to their own conclusion. Second, they're all about logic and data. They like research, they think they know what they want, and they respect a well-seasoned debate when needed. These prospects are often engineers, accountants, executives, or in this case, a lawyer. Third, they want to spend as little time as possible talking to you. They're not small talkers, they want to stick to business. Now, most salespeople hear this, and their first instinct is to just give them what they ask for, a quick price, an email, and that's it. That's the mistake. The lawyer from my call thought he knew what he wanted. He shopped online, he got some cheap quotes, and he even brought a policy from another company that had dropped them because they didn't do their underwriting properly. He said it himself in the fact finding. I wanted to call someone that represented a larger company because I really wasn't sure about those other quotes I got earlier. He showed his cards without realizing it. He was looking for an advisor and an expert he could trust, even though his tone said otherwise. Your job as an insurance agent and salesperson isn't to be an order taker. It's to be the expert they're subconsciously looking for. The belief that you have to break is that their initial or even ongoing resistance is rejection. It's not. It's a test. They're testing to see if you're just another salesperson or if you're a real professional who can bring more to the table than they can find on Google. Handling this type of prospect comes down to having the right word tracks ready to go. You can't hesitate and you can't sound unsure. You have to meet their logic with even better logic. It's not about arguing, it's about reframing the conversation in a way that makes your recommendation the only logical choice. To make this easier for you, I've pulled the exact rebuttals I used on this lawyer call and put them into a brand new one-page PDF I call the All-Knowing Prospect Objection Cheat Sheet. It has word-for-word scripts for handling objections like, I only want a home quote, and I don't need that much coverage. It also includes other common objections from this type of prospect so you can be prepared for anything they throw at you. It's the fastest way to feel confident and prepared for your next call with a self-sufficient prospect. The link to download it for free is in the description right below this video. Go grab it now, print it out, put it on your desk, and stop letting these prospects back you into a corner. Alright, so let's get into the play-by-play of this call. The resistance started immediately during fact-finding. Right after he called in, he laid down the law. I only want a home quote. I don't need car insurance, I already have that taken care of. Most people would just say okay and move on, immediately giving up control and a massive amount of value. That's the mistake. You have to immediately establish the value of a holistic approach. Here's exactly what I said. Absolutely, we'll get you a home quote. Having the cars just makes over $1,000 difference. You wouldn't want me to skip over that part, right? See what that does? It makes it stupid for him to say no. I agree with his premise. Absolutely. But then I use a logical, quantifiable reason to pivot. It's not about what I want to sell, it's about what he stands to lose. It reframes multi-lining not as an upsell, but as a crucial part of getting the best deal. For those of you who know my stance on this, not writing the home and the auto together is like wiping before you poop. It just doesn't make any sense. Then came the next major objection. We're going through our script. I'm doing the potential assets at risk calculation, which uses income and assets to come up with his liability coverage he needed, and he needed about $1.375 million. He comes back immediately with, I don't need that much coverage. I'm a really good lawyer and I feel confident in my ability to defend myself. This is a classic self-sufficient move. He's using his professional status to create leverage. Here's how you dismantle it piece by piece. First, you agree and validate his status. I said, I hear you. With how much you make, you must be really good. Wink, wink. Starting with agreement disarmed him. And then I played a little dumb and hit him with this question that uses logic from him. I said, you'll have to forgive me for my potential ignorance, since I only know so much about law. But I thought that if you're liable for injuring someone or damaging something, you still have to pay. Am I wrong? Which made him respond with, no, you're not wrong. Boom. Now I have him. So I followed up immediately with, if you have a bad car accident, do you want us to pay for it or do you? He had no choice but to say, I would want you guys to. And just like that, the objection evaporated. We established for the need for the very coverage he just tried to dismiss. Now we get to the negotiation. After I gathered all the info to quote his home, autos, and umbrella, I made the full presentation. I said to be able to actually rebuild your home and pay up to $1.5 million on your behalf in a bad car accident, we would be $330.41 per month. Then I immediately hit him with a trial close, and I said, if we did this, would we pay monthly or in full? Remember, a trial close is a litmus test to see if a prospect is ready to be closed or if there are other objections hiding under the surface. And sure enough, one popped right up. He said, that's more than I pay now, and I got quotes elsewhere for less. Okay. Now we're in the negotiation. We're no longer selling, and now it's really time to turn to logic. I want you to think about what you would have done in that situation. You've had a resistant prospect the whole time, and now the quote you show is more expensive, and he has lower quotes elsewhere. What would you do here? My first thought was, this objection doesn't line up with the fact finding I did earlier. He already told me earlier they didn't trust those other quotes. So this isn't the real objection. It was just a fluff. So there must be something else holding him back. So I started with agreement as always. I said, yeah, we are more. I didn't dance around it. You just have to own it. So then I used his own experience to invalidate his objection. I said, but did any other company use the same attention to detail in coming up with the coverage on the home and your liability? Right away he said no, and started complaining about the company that had just dropped him, which proved my point for me. And then he gave me another objection. He said, I just need it today to think about it. I just need to take a day. We've all heard this. It's a classic stall objection, but time kills deals. If you let the prospect walk away here, you probably don't have another chance with them. So I went back to fact finding with a simple question. What are your main concerns? This is how you see if he really needs to think about it or if there's something else. So then he brings up that his car doesn't renew until March and he doesn't want to pay more money. This is where I delivered the logic bomb that closed the deal. I handled the renewal objection by explaining prorated refunds and that we were more coverage, and then I leveled with him in his own professional terms. I said, I get it, we are more, but odds are you have competition, other lawyers that undercut you. But we know the legal advice you're giving isn't the same. You charge what you charge because of the quality, and we do the same. I dropped that, let it sink in, and then hit him with one final trial close by saying, is there any other reason we wouldn't do this? Silence. I waited, and then he said, what are the next steps? And then he ended up buying. But why did that final rebuttal work? It's because he would have had to reduce his own professional status or buy, which made buying his idea, which is key in working with self-sufficient prospects. And think about this, since he paid more to be with me, what are the odds that he's going to leave for a better deal? Since he was difficult to bring on as a customer, he will be difficult with any other company. And if they can't go 8 objections deep like I did, he's going to end up staying with me. This call wasn't luck. It was a repeatable system, and that system is built on 4 non-negotiable rules. If you want to close these types of clients, you have to follow these 4 rules. Rule number 1, you must understand the prospect type and adapt to them. A self-sufficient prospect wants logic, data, and speed. They don't want small talk about their family or the weather. Just stick to business. They respect an advisor who respects their time. Rule number 2, you can't fold on the first, second, or even third objection. With self-sufficient prospects especially, the back and forth actually builds up your credibility. It shows you're confident in your recommendation. If you get one piece of resistance and immediately fold like a chair, they lose all confidence in you. And that's why I end up writing clients like lawyers that end up paying more money to be with me, and you end up writing angry single-line auto households. You have to stay in the conversation. Rule number 3, you have to level with them in their own terms. Frame your value using their profession or their worldview. I did it with the lawyer. If you're talking to an engineer, talk about the design and the structure of the policy. If it's an accountant, talk about the numbers and the ROI. This shows you're not just reading the script, you're applying your knowledge to their specific situation. And since they will understand what you're saying in their terms, they are more likely to buy. And lastly, rule number 4, time kills all deals. Don't be the reason that you have to follow up. 20% of prospects you talk to will never buy. 10% will buy no matter what, and the other 70% of prospects just need help making a decision. Your job is to help them make it on the first call by logically and systematically dismantling their objections until the only thing left to do is say yes. Because let's be real, most of the time people don't buy on the first call because we didn't handle their objections, and then they ghost that second call they scheduled because time doesn't magically handle their objections either. When you follow these rules, you're not just selling, you're negotiating from a position of strength. You close when it makes sense, not just when you're less. The high-end clients might talk about rate, but deep down what they're looking for is quality. So what's the one thing to take away from all this? The toughest, most knowledgeable customers are obstacles. They are your best opportunities. They appreciate a process, they respect logic, and when you finally earn their business by proving you're a true advisor, then they become incredibly loyal clients in some of your largest households. You have to stop being afraid of objections and start seeing them as a path to the close. When you have a process, and when you have the right word tracks, and when you're willing to stay in negotiation with logic, you can close just about anyone. If you want to master the script we use for every single call, get coaching on how to handle objections just like these, and learn the entire system that has made our agency a top 10 agency out of 19,500 agents, well, that's what we do at Trainwell. Get our scripts and processes that work in any rate environment at trainwell.co. The logical next step for you to have a better chance at handling objections is to improve your fact finding. Check out this video I made called The Best Insurance Sales Systems, the 6 questions versus the 5 fundamentals to learn what to ask and what not to ask to get all the information you need to negotiate and close on the first call. Thanks again for watching. Now go make some calls.